I think people are acting as if the Rams are going to be automatic Super Bowl champions, or at least contenders now, just because they added Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie, Jaylen Watson. They still have Puka Nakua, Matthew Stafford, etc. But that's really not how football works, okay? And I think the biggest misunderstanding here is that people are treating the NFL like it's Madden. Like you just stack elite players on one side of the ball, simulate the season, and boom, championship, and that's not reality. Okay? Those are elite players. I'm not trying to downplay that, but Myles Garrett is old. He's 29. He's still in his prime, yes, but he's more prone to injury. He's a true game wrecker off the edge. Trent McDuffie is one of the most complete cornerbacks in the league. Jaylen Watson gives you solid depth, which matters more than people think on paper. That is terrifying, but the NFL doesn't run on paper. It runs on structure, matchups, timing, communication, and finding the weakest link on any field at any given moment. Okay? So let's start with the pass rush. Everybody loves the idea of a dominant edge rusher like Garrett because it feels like an instant disruption. And yes, he can wreck games, but modern NFL offenses are built specifically to slow that down. Quick game concepts, RPOs, screen motions, and max protection all exist to take pass rushers out of their timing windows. And since they added Myles Garrett, automatically offenses are going to know, since he's a very big pass rusher, we're going to, sub 1 out, we're going to double him, etc. So even when a star is winning, the ball is often already gone. Now the corners. McDuffie can erase top receivers. Watson can hold his own. But offenses just don't sit there and force bad matchups all game. They shift targets. They attack linebackers in space. Modern NFL offenses live in the middle of the field. They don't need to beat your stars. They just need to find the weakest zone. And I think that is one of the things people are getting mixed up. They think that since the Rams added both Jaylen Watson and Trent McDuffie, and they still have some of their starters in their secondary as well, that automatically means they have the best defense, if not one of the best. And that's really not how that works, because their linebacker position, which I'll get to that later, it still needs a lot of work. I mean, their linebacker position gave up many, many yards in the 2025 season. And even bigger than that, this is where the Rams, specifically in the 2025 season, have already shown real measurable issues that I don't think even fixed lately. Across the 2025 season, their special teams unit has been very inconsistent enough to directly swing momentum in games, especially in matchups where field position changed the entire flow of drives. One of the most damaging examples came against Seattle in the championship game, where a muff punt on a high-hanging return immediately flipped field position and set up a short field scoring opportunity. That kind of mistake doesn't just hurt, it changes the entire structure of a drive sequence. And if we look, the Eagles blocked a game-winning field goal, easily, and returned it for a touchdown. There wasn't an isolated issue either. It's been a clear Achilles heel on this Rams team. They fired their special teams coordinator, and it still continued. Throughout 2025, the Rams special teams has repeated problems in punt coverage, return decision-making, and general field position management. And that is really the only mistake you need to have to lose a game. They could be so good. They could have a good offense, great defense, and they consistently force the defense to operate with worse field position than they earned. And that matters more than people realize, because a strong defense becomes less effective when it is constantly defending shorter fields. It compresses margin for error, increases pressure in linebackers and coverage, and forces the pass rush to work with less breathing room. Now tie that back into the linebacker situation, where they need a fix if very fast if they don't get to it. The Rams linebacker room has already shown vulnerability in coverage, especially against modern offenses that attack the middle of the field. Tight ends, running backs on option routes, and crossers consistently stress the second level. I mean, they gave up many yards to the 49ers tight ends, Seattle's tight ends, especially A.J. Barner. And when combined with poor field position from special teams, those weaknesses get amplified, not reduced. So that's the domino effect people miss, I think. On one phase of the game, doesn't exist in isolation. It spills into the next. So now you have their special teams not fixed at all, even after the draft, even during the offseason. You have special teams giving up field position swings, linebackers being stretched into space, offensives targeting structural weak points instead of the stars, and defensive possessions shrinking into effectiveness. And if your top-end talent is elite, the system underneath it is still what determines consistency. Over 17 games plus playoffs, the NFL teams are never at full strength every snap. Injuries happen, of course. Matthew Stafford is aging. He's almost 40 years old, if not already 40. I forgot. Sorry. Rotations matter, and smart offenses actively avoid your stars and attack backups, rotational defenders, and special teams units to something breaks. I mean, they just recently traded a young Jared Verse for an aging Myles Garrett. And before you say, oh, he's still in his prime. Yes, he's still in his prime, but he is aging still. Verse was a very young and prominent edge rusher, and they just gave him away like that. Not to mention, their cap space is going to go through the roof, especially whenever Puka gets off his rookie contract. So, until they fix this, one communication on the special teams becomes a 40-yard gain. One blown assignment because of touchdown. One special teams mistake becomes instant momentum loss. That's the NFL. So I truly believe everybody's saying, since the Rams have all these stars added together on their team, they're automatic Super Bowl, or at least automatic championship. And that's really not how it works. In fact, I believe the Rams are going to be worse than they were last year because of all these issues that they're not fixing. I mean, their defense was still very good. And although they added even more players there, they still have not fixed their linebacker situation and their special teams, which can determine the game in one snap. So yes, even since the Rams added those players, they would be better, no question, but better and automatic Super Bowl contender are not the same thing. Because in the NFL, stars raise their ceiling, but structure, linebackers, special teams consistency, depth, and execution decide whether you're actually going to reach it.